2bsirius has made a video implying pointing finger without pointing it, so I'm going to respond to it because the implication is there, who she's talking about, and so there's just no point in this nonsense. But anyway, the same old pretentious. We're not allowed to judge nature. Okay, we can judge anything else in the world, but you can't judge nature and the DNA molecule. You can't even talk about it, really. You're committing some sort of hate crime. I mean, really, is that bad? The whole way this is being phrased, like it's a sin. It's a waste of time. That's how she describes it, as a waste of time to attempt to figure out exactly what this whole mess is and exactly what parts of it are worth salvaging or trying to make something out of, even if there are any. But, that we shouldn't even have the conversation is her point. It's a threat, just having the conversation. Because it's a threat to the retarded delusion that chasing the pink balloon makes sense. We don't want to educate the retards. Keep the retards dumb. Keep the slaves stupid. So they don't know they're slaves. So they don't know they're human beings. So they don't know they have rights. Really, really slimy. Anyway, so she's using this guy, this old off guy or whatever, as the focus here. She's read some crap, and she read this guy when she was 12 years old, and blah, 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 and apparently this did something for her. He doesn't sound exactly like a phantasmagorical Gaia-loving blah, blah, blah. It doesn't sound like he would find it impossible to have a discussion about DNA and about the mechanism of evolution. But who knows? So she reads a little bit and then we'll get to her crap.
And triumphs and escapes, the great struggle of our age was brewing. One antagonist appeared as the will to dare for the sake of the new, the longed for, the reasonable, the joyful world, in which every man and woman may have scope to live fully and live in service of humanity. The other seemed essentially the myopic fear of the unknown, or was it more sinister? Was it the cunning will for private mastery, which fomented for its own ends the anarchic, reason-hating, and vindictive passion of the tribe?
Yeah, I don't even know what that is. So the fight is between the eternal battle, the grand battle for the human soul, is between humans who boldly get on rickety roller coasters and don't pay any attention to the physics or care, as long as they're all doing it together and hugging each other, versus the reason-hating scientist types who might dissect the circumstance and say, oh, when you dissect this thing, it's made out of shit. But they're reason-hating, so that doesn't really work. Now, I don't think this guy really did it. I don't think he did a very good job of spelling out what the two sides are. You know what the two sides are? People who believe in an ultimate purpose and don't wish to articulate exactly what the source of it would be, besides spaghetti monsters and little Gaia giants or something, the Jolly Green Giant, and realists who recognize that we've learned a lot, and most of what we learned is this place is made out of shit.
It seemed that in the coming storm, all the dearest things must be destroyed, all private happiness, all loving, all creative work in art, science, and philosophy, all intellectual scrutiny, all speculative imagination, and all creative social...
I mean, what the hell is that? All intellectual scrutiny in the same sentence with somebody who's destroying art and all this other kind of crap. I mean, so you've already described a conflict. No, this has nothing to do with it. You can't... That's stupid. It's like describing the giant as the short guy over there. I mean, what sense does that make? This is not a real character, this boogeyman.
Building, all, indeed, that man should normally live for, seemed folly and mockery and mere self-indulgence in the presence of the public calamity. But if we fail to preserve them, when would they live again?
Well, guess what? You know, the the universe is going to supernova us. Okay, so when will they live again? You know, the same. You're going to run into the same problem. It's a brick wall. We're not the beginning of life in the universe. All right, we're not like, oh, the universe has been just started like 3 days ago, and like, oh, life showed up, human beings on Earth, and they're going to populate the universe, and then forever and ever, there's going to be human beings populating the universe. That's not the way it's going to work, and you know it. In universal time, we're a grain of sand. Our entire existence, the existence of planet Earth and life on it, is not going to be, it wouldn't even be a letter on a page in the book. So all this pondering about what will become of the poor little human beings and their little cathedrals is a waste of time. It's all going to be turned into fucking goddamn grains of sand, literal sand.
How to face such an age, how to muster courage, being capable only of homely virtue. To do this, yet preserve the mind's integrity, never to let the struggle destroy in one's own heart what one had tried to serve in the world, the spirit.
Well, what's the point of this? What's the to serve in one own heart and spirit? This is supposed to be persuasive as an intellectual argument. Yes, we should indulge in the heart and in the spirit, and that's how scientists view the world, with heart and spirit. Fail.
Of integrity. That seems to me the best we can do, really. We can't do more. I mean, there are some areas in which I would disagree. For example, he actually said mankind, but I changed it to humankind, because I always hate the word mankind. But you might not want that word because it is speciesism, and I realize that. I mean, I too am a vegetarian, you know. I too care about suffering in the world, and I care about animals when they suffer.
You obviously don't give a fuck, okay, if they're doing it at the hands of the DNA. You only care when they're doing it at the hands of the human being. When they're doing it at the hands of the create oxygen for you to breathe and, you know, climate and all this other stuff, well, it's okay. If they're fodder for the engine that makes the world green for you, well, then it's perfectly okay if they suffer like fucking hell. All of a sudden care is, well, no, that's part of what you got to do. Sorry, animals, but yeah, you fertilize my garden. Yeah, fuck that shit.
But I think the thing that gets to me about this whole dilemma and this whole debate is there are certain taboo things you can't say. And
I mean, what a joke. So her argument is that the taboo is against, yeah, like the whole draconian force of popular opinion and all the institutions of humanity are preaching the dogma that life sucks and we must blow it up. And if the poor little minority of the squeaky little voices say, no, no, please save the jolly green giant, you're the minority. I mean, what a joke.
one of them is that we are in the situation that we are in, and we find the world as we find it.
Oh, wonderful. That's just such a super attitude. The slaves should have thought that way, right? Just, hey, just accept your circumstance. Okay, the Jews in the concentration camp. Hey, it's the way the world's found, okay? Them Nazi guys got big guns. They learned how to shoot these missile things. Yeah, they're way advanced. They got a little pointy thing on their helmet. I mean, they're way fucking kick-ass. So, yeah, it's the way the world is. Nobody should stop them because, yeah, they're better than us. Yeah, don't think. Don't, no, don't fight. No. Just give up. Let nature tell you what your destiny is. Let a dumb DNA molecule decide the destiny of life on Earth. Yeah.
The world that I would want it to be, or obviously you would want it to be, but we can't do any more than do what we can within the world we find. And
yeah, well, who's suggesting we do something outside the world we find? I mean, that's just such a nonsense statement. All right, we have absolute power. It's the truth. We do have it. You can keep pretending we don't. We have it. If we want to sterilize this planet, we can do it. All right, with the nuclear bombs that exist, we can do it. And if we want to do it, we can just build more of them. No problem. We can fucking sanitize this planet. So we have absolute power. What is because we allow it to be, not because it has to be or because of any other reason. So that's just a canard.
Or we anguish over how unfair the world as we find it really is. Uh,
Yeah, don't anguish over that unfairness thing. Only deal with the unfairnesses I care about, okay? Don't deal with the unfairnesses that are over there that I happen to be living on or feeding on or are satisfying my, rubbing my delusionary brain with. Yeah, don't touch those unfairnesses. Just touch the ones that I care about. Fuck that.
the more it just seems like wasted effort to me. And
Okay, well, you're entitled to your opinion, but you know what has to come with that opinion? Some sort of rational argument. So the argument has been put out there that basically explains that there's a DNA molecule reproducing on planet Earth, and that it's doing it through just a brutal competition, a physical, brutal, harsh competition. And survival basically is going to be decided based on things like gang warfare, um, just insidious, parasitical kind of strategies. Lay your eggs in its ear and let your larvae eat its brain, and taking advantage of any kind of circumstance. And that's the game of what gets to survive. And there's nothing saying that, and intelligence, like teeth, like any other tool, is just that. It's a tool, and because we possess it, it does give us this capacity to lord over everything because we're smarter than everything else. We understand. We can model things. And you're saying it's okay to model everything that's to the advantage of the human race, but don't model the part that demonstrates or that might reveal to the human race that all they're doing is exactly what those animals are doing. They're not doing anything better. They haven't improved on it. They're just doing it in a way that allows them to be successful.
the more it seems to be, at least to me, a turning away from the complexity of the fact that evolution, in a lot of ways, is not a pretty process, and there is suffering.
Yeah, and you just don't account for it. You just sit there to say, "Oh, it's just the way it is bullshit." The obligation is to explain why we, as rational, intelligent, organisms, should just sit back and do that. Why shouldn't we examine it? Why shouldn't we dissect it? If it's made out of nothing, if all we're going to find inside of our brains is Charlie Manson, then why don't we just, then let's admit the truth.
It is the way life evolves, and I do not think that the choice then is to say that we can eliminate all life. And there.
Well, you have to, again, you can say that. You don't believe. Fine. Okay? But that's just like a religious person saying, I don't believe God doesn't exist, or whatever the thing is. You're not making an argument. You're not saying anything rationally persuasive. You're just pleading. Oh, please, please, don't draw the conclusion that life is stupid. I just don't want you to. I don't have any evidence that it's not stupid. I don't have any evidence that any one of my desires or ambitions has any character or credibility whatsoever. I'm just going to argue because I believe it and I want. Nothing else. Not rationality.
There are lots of reasons for that. I know you're not advocating that, but it gets advocated a lot, and it doesn't even seem...
It gets advocated by a tiny, tiny percentage of the human race. A tiny percentage of the human race is saying, whoa, stop, slow down. Let's figure out what we're doing here before we keep making this mess. Let's see if there's a nest to be made before we put eggs in it. Let's see if the eggs are worth putting through the experience. If we can't do it better than this. I mean, look, just calculate how many little birds fall out of a nest every year. I mean, a zillion? So that's all okay. It's okay. Yeah, you're just saying it's okay. Those zillion birds are equal to our, I made a drawing on a piece of paper. Wow, I'm an artist. Blah, blah, blah. Spectacular.
Like a viable option to me. It seems like we've got to make the world more humane in the best sense of that. Not as just...
Well, I don't see there is any conflict whatsoever between the people who say blow the whole thing up and the people saying fix it. Obviously, the people who are saying blow the whole thing up are just saying, look, that's going to be the ultimate end game, assholes. You can keep pretending that you can civilize us. But the more you civilize us, guess what? The more you'll realize that your nuts are cut off. All right, the game will be over then. All right, we are animals. There is nothing here for an intelligence. There's only a game if you're retarded. Jack in the Boxes only work on retards. Pink Balloon only works on retards. And life is just made out of silly games.
Human beings, self-interested human beings, only interested in our own welfare. But we have to look at all of the matrix that we are in and see what can be done and what can't be done.
And, whatever. Like I said, who is in conflict with that? Again, it's just so stupid to make this argument that there's some conflict between people who think the end game is it's just futile. But are still going to say, well, while we're here, let's make the best of it. Let's do the best of it. Let's fix the most of it. They're just arguing for a better fix, a more complete fix. But they'll take a half a fix. I mean, I'd rather, whatever the half slice versus no slice.
And even if we vehemently and with great enthusiasm wanted to eliminate all life, there's no way that would happen.
Yeah, well, whatever. Like I said, that's just silly. With just the crudest technology, there's a way it can happen. You just irradiate the world, neutron bombs, and it's done. Okay, you will sanitize this shithole. It will be on fire. Radioactive fire. And besides that, what's the other point? That's all you really need to do is to knock it down a few billion years. The odds of it ever doing this crap again are, I think, pretty minuscule. So, bacteria running around, no problem. It can do that for all. It can do that for all of eternity, and I'm not going to grieve.
So we might as well really live in the world as we find it and do the best that we can as individuals and in cooperative groups, while realizing that our circle of care cannot extend to everything that suffers. I wish it could.
Oh, wasn't that nice? What a nice, you just define how big the circle should be. Isn't that charming? Okay, so if somebody else's circle doesn't have the Jews in it, that's okay with you, right? They don't have to care, right? Or some other race, they can just take them out of the circle of care. Yeah, it's okay. We can just pick and choose what we put in that old circle of care. We don't have to obey any kind of logic and say, well, sentience is the core of this thing. And mammals are, generally speaking, all emotional animals, so they're all having pretty sophisticated conscious experience. But no, they can't be in the circle of care because they're in nature, and they have to do the DNA thing, and we don't. You see, we're not obligated to bring them in out of the cold. They have to they're cats, right? Little homeless cats. Well, they're homeless, but too fucking bad. You don't get no food. Yeah. I mean, that's just bullshit. Sorry. Bullshit.
Recognizing that it can't, but it can't. So we just have to be, it seems to me, willing to live in the world as it is. And
willing not to judge God, and that's all you're saying, basically. Don't judge my God. Yeah. Don't obligate it to account for itself. It's you can just come up with all kinds of little Bible phrases, right? In God we trust. God's will be done. So we might as well just, DNA's will be done. Yes, the DNA knows what it's doing. Can't disrupt the DNA's course. Don't disparage the DNA. I mean, this is just such puke rhetoric.
the world is, we want it to be because we feel shortchanged by the injustice.
Oh, well, that's very patronizing and silly. I'll just say everything you've just said. Every thought you have is not a thought, it's a feeling. Yeah. Oh, you just feel threatened because you're invested in the little silly world, and you also committed the crime of giving birth. So now you feel an obligation to somehow, make it all right, make that all make sense. So yeah, anybody can play those kind of silly games. It has nothing to do with the fact that I feel shortchanged. It has to do with the fact that I'm here for no good reason, and I'm in a shithole. As a human civilization, it's retarded, And on top of that, the whole natural environment is crap. So yeah, I should be what? I should say thank you very much. Celebrate my circumstance. Well, hell no. I'm just gonna say, ooh, I'm on a really shitty ride. This is a bummer. This is like a tour boat in a cesspool. I mean, it's like the sewage plant down the road, right? I could build a little tour boat, and I could, give people rides in the little shit pool, and but they'd have to be real idiots, wouldn't they? They'd all have to be retarded to get on that boat now, wouldn't they?
That's my take on this.
Yeah. Well, again, you made no argument. You just pleaded. Please, please, please don't insult the DNA. Please don't insult the DNA. Please, please don't do it. I mean, this is like some Christian crying because you insulted their religion. That's all this bullshit is. It's your religion. Ugh. So anyway, enough of the video, I think. Yeah, I think it's enough. Till next time and such.